Things for coronavirus. With the flare-up of the Wuhan coronavirus, individuals everywhere throughout the world are beginning to pay heed and think the most noticeably awful. All things considered, mainstream society is filled to the overflow with prophetically catastrophic situations, including the apocalypse on account of a viral episode. 10 reasons the coronavirus should terrify you. At the present time, there's little possibility of individuals kicking the bucket as a group, and there's no danger of a zombie episode right now. However, that doesn't mean the circumstance isn't not kidding and that it couldn't take a turn for the worst. Preparing yourself for a flare-up that could clear out a large number of individuals should be possible. And you don't have to begin delving a sanctuary in your terrace to do it. Survival is tied in with being readied. What you do today could spare your life tomorrow. Keeping that in mind, here are the best 10 basic hints to get ready for the coronavirus flare-up. 10. Store food and water. The normal individual consumes among 1.5 and 3,000 calories per day. However, without nourishment, the body starts to break down. Dying from hunger is horrible, and it can take upwards of 70 days. Nonetheless, without fluids, drying out will prompt passing in only 3 or 4. Be sure to store a few months of canned and dried out nourishment per individual. Military portions pack a huge amount of calories and have a time frame of realistic usability of as long as 5 years. So get a few in the event that you can. You'll require enough water for at any rate 14 days, yet ideally 4. A large portion of a gallon daily for one individual is about right. If you come up short on the new stuff, you can purify water from a faulty source by bubbling it or including a bit of iodine or bleach. There's likewise an extraordinary development called the life straw, which you can use to drink water legitimately from a sullied source. The straw channels water as it goes through. I suggest getting a few and keeping them close by. 9. Purchase essential tools on the off chance that the plague you're endeavoring to endure is more awful than the Black Death. There's a decent possibility society will take a short time to refocus subsequent to everything fades away. All things considered, if history's shown us anything, it's that anybody can capitulate to ailment, including rulers, presidents, tyrants, and the person who rings you up at the supermarket. If a major bit of the populace vanishes rapidly, you'll need to battle for yourself, and that implies you're going to require some tools. Imagine searching for nourishment, however, or you find bolted and void houses. On the off chance that you have a crowbar, you don't have anything to stress over. What's more, there's nothing amiss with breaking into a relinquished home while attempting to endure an apocalypse. You'll likewise need to have a standard arrangement of devices in a tool stash. In particular, it ought to incorporate a sledge, screwdriver set, a wrench, and a multi-tool. 8. Get yourself some weapons. Survivalists are notable for accumulating weapons and ammunition, and not only for chasing. In the event that the most exceedingly terrible occurs, and enough amazing will disintegrate and collapse. After that occurs, life will look a great deal like a dystopian film, and you're going to need to fight for yourself. When zombies begin strolling about, they'll execute you and your entire family for a generous feast and a sheltered spot to remain. Your best guard is a decent defense, and that implies you'll require weapons. Shotguns are extraordinary at chasing feathered creatures, but at the same time they're perfect for lacking elbow room battle. A rifle is required for chasing greater creatures, so get one with a decent extension. Lastly, guns. They're little, simple to utilize, and have incredible halting force. I'd likewise propose you get a book on chasing and cleaning animals. If you don't approach weapons because of nearby laws, a cleaver or crossbow is additionally extraordinary at chasing and protecting yourself. In any event, get a decent chasing blade and trust in the best. 7. Load up on disinfectant. Plague specialists wore odd covers with bills loaded up with herbs intended to decontaminate the air as they relaxed. This was on the grounds that they thought illness was spread through terrible stenches. That thought has been disproven. However, it gives us a genuine case of how to get ready yourself when a disease is airborne or spread through touch. Standard purchaser items that murder most lethal pathogens are modest and effortlessly found. Load up on Blanche, which can sanitize anything, and as I referenced before, it can make water safe to drink. Hand cleanser is acceptable after all other options have been exhausted, yet not when there's a terrible bug noticeable all around. Get some hand sanitizer and use it at whatever point you contact normal items, or interact with others. On the off chance that you don't have any of that, liquor will murder most germs. However, it ought to be utilized as a last resort. If you choose to purchase a cutting-edge cover, careful ones won't help against the coronavirus. You'll be needing a CBRN-grade full-face veil. These are concoction, organic, radiological, and atomic guard evaluated. 6. Create a safe room and house. You're going to need to guard your home. And that implies you'll need to go to that trusty thing that has helped keep the US military running easily for quite a long time: conduit tape. It's anything but difficult to tear. Sticks to everything and will assist you with making sure about your home and keep the infection out. And keeping in mind that you're purchasing the tape, snatch a lot of plastic drop cloths. If you figure shutting the front entryway and closing all the windows will keep the infection under control, ask yourself, when was the last time a creepy crawly got in? On the off chance that creepy crawlies and ants can discover their way into your home, so can an airborne disease. Use the drop fabrics to cover each window and entryway, fixing them with channel tape as you go. On the off chance that you have a chimney, close the vent and seal that up as well. The exact opposite thing you have to do is set up an isolate room someplace in your home. This is the place you would put somebody who is giving indications of disease to confine them from the remainder of the gathering. 5. Prep your immune system. The main resistance our bodies have against a conceivably lethal contamination is its insusceptible framework. The most ideal approach to keep yourself fit as a fiddle is to take everything from lysine and vitamin C to practicing regularly. You're going to need to reserve some medication. So get together as much as could be expected under the circumstances. Score a few anti-infection agents, and guarantee that any individual who needs insulin or an EpiPen has a prepared supply. If you have a remedy, don't hold up until the last moment to fill it. Have at any rate a month's stock available, or you could encounter perilous withdrawal manifestations, particularly where antidepressants are concerned. Going without any weaning period on physician-recommended medications can wreck you quicker than the plague, so consistently ensure you have ample. Additionally, you ought to have cold medication, multivitamins, antimicrobial balms, and an all-around loaded emergency treatment unit. All things considered, you would prefer not to endure the plague of the century and wind up kicking the bucket from a contamination after you get a cut on your hand. 4. Make a bug-out bag. Perhaps the most punctual thing a legislature will do when there's an episode is to isolate the contaminated regions. This has occurred in Wuhan. And inside a moderately brief time frame, in excess of 10 million individuals have been compelled to remain put, but while this was going on, outsiders who weren't tainted were emptied. In the event that something very similar happens where you may wind up compelled to escape with next to zero notification. In these circumstances, it's in every case great to have a bug-out pack ready. A very much loaded sack needs all the things I've discussed on this rundown. In any case, only enough for a 72-hour period. You ought to likewise include a crisis radio, electric lamp, save batteries, waterproof matches, and a stone and steel. Remember garments and ladylike cleanliness items also. While you can purchase bug-out sacks from different spots on the web, most survivalists would concur you should stock your own dependent on your own needs and well-being requirements. You'll additionally need to keep a duplicate of your city's calamity plan in it, which can show safe approaches to go in a crisis. 3. Get ready for a barter economy in the event that the flare-up clears out a huge segment of the nearby populace. The survivors will be left to get the pieces. The entirety of that valuable money you escape the bank may not be a lot of good in the aftermath. You're going to need to take advantage of history and become familiar with the advantages of a bargain economy. Everything in a post-pandemic circumstance will depend on exchange. No one is going to surrender their penicillin for a bar of gold or a wad of cash. Before Hitler and his National Communist gathering came to control in Germany, the country was controlled by the Weimar Republic. The economy was a ruins, and the cash at the time was essentially useless. Individuals went to an underground trading framework and it functioned admirably enough to prop things up. The equivalent is genuine right now in present-day Venezuela. The most ideal way you can get ready for this is to load up on a ton of generally required things. This could be germicide balm, face covers, different kinds of medication, or whatever else individuals should endure a plague of incredible scale. Furthermore, remember, nuts and bolts for example, tissue will be sought after. 2. Get hold of some boredom busters when an episode happens and spreads to your territory. You may end up isolated for quite a while. On the off chance that the force has gone out, you can disregard viewing The Mandalorian or playing Fortnite. But that doesn't mean you need to leave weariness alone your destruction. Regardless of whether the force has gone out, there's still a ton you can do to remain rational when a social influencer in your gathering understands that Instagram's gone and he needs some attention. Make sure you have heaps of books to peruse. Get an assortment of engaging titles. However, you ought to likewise keep some survivalist manuals close by too. No one can tell when they may spare your life. Puzzle books and old educational committee games are likewise an incredible method to breathe easy. Fatigue may not execute you legitimately, yet it can make your life hopeless, so prepare. 1. Get ready for the most exceedingly terrible. Someone in your group may die. At the point where this occurs, their body will start to deteriorate very quickly. It will discharge put away gases and fertilizer, and it can at present spread the infection. Ebola is particularly horrendous with regards to tainting bodies because of the gigantic measure of blood. Be that as it may, a body can be perilous, regardless of whether demise was caused normally. It is basic not to contact the body without gloves and a veil. Removal of a carcass isn't a simple assignment. Rather than incineration, make like a Mexican medication cartel and weaken the extras. It is ideal to cover the body and spread it with soluble base. Take a scoop and burrow an opening around 6 feet down. Delicately put aside the body, sprinkle a couple of cups with antacid and cover it in the earth. In a moderately brief time frame, it will crush everything with the exception of bones and teeth. I might want to take note of that in spite of the fact that this rundown is halfway proposed for diversion. It highlights an undeniable threat today. If it's not too much trouble, see your debacle reaction plan in your city and ensure you are set up however much as could reasonably be expected. Pandemics and pestilences are generally not cautioned ahead of time. Things raise, and this might be your lone opportunity to act. Good karma. We as a whole need this.